Captain Liam Harris stepped off the human shuttle and onto the gleaming surface of Zephyra Prime, the capital world of the Zalari Empire. The sky shimmered with strange colors, green and purple mixing like liquid light, towers made of crystal, and metal stretched into the clouds reflecting the sunlight in brilliant patterns. Liam had seen pictures, but nothing prepared him for the reality. The Zalari were tall, elegant aliens with smooth silver skin and eyes like liquid gold. Their movements were precise, almost like they were always in a dance. Every step Liam took was measured against the silence of their world. He felt small, ordinary, but humans had a way of surprising even the strongest alien races. Liam's mission was simple but dangerous. He was here to negotiate peace between two warring factions of the Zalari, and his presence had been demanded by Queen Zephyra herself. The Queen had a reputation: clever, commanding, and utterly unyielding. He had heard stories from other diplomats about her power and her intimidating presence. He was led into a massive hall, its walls covered in intricate designs that seemed to move when he looked at them. The floor was smooth and clear, showing deep layers of light beneath. At the far end of the hall sat Queen Zephyra on a throne carved from glowing crystal. Her eyes were sharp, examining him from a distance. The moment he stepped forward, he noticed something unusual. The Queen's ceremonial armor shimmered like liquid silver. Liam swallowed and forced a calm smile. "Your Majesty," he said in his carefully measured voice, "it is an honor to meet you. I must say, your armor is remarkable, both strong and beautiful." The hall went silent. The council members sitting near the Queen exchanged quick, uncertain glances. Liam thought he had made a small diplomatic error, but then he saw it. Queen Zephyra froze. Her golden eyes widened slightly. A faint pinkish glow appeared across her cheek, a blush. Liam blinked. He had read about the Zalari, studied their habits and expressions, but he had never seen a blush. He had not expected this. For a moment, the powerful Queen seemed almost human in her reaction. You complimented me?" Zephyra asked, her voice a mix of surprise and confusion. Her tone carried no mockery, no insult. Just something alien, something she had never felt before. "Yes, Your Majesty," Liam replied carefully. "I meant it sincerely." The Queen tilted her head, studying him. The blush faded slowly, but her curiosity remained. Liam realized then that his words had struck something personal. Perhaps it was the first time anyone had ever spoken to her in such a way. Humans were different. Humans said things that were honest and simple. They didn't hide behind endless rules or ceremonies. "Humans," Zephyra murmured to herself. "You notice things others do not?" "Yes, Your Majesty," Liam said, taking a small, careful step forward. "We notice. We admire. We respect strength and beauty. Together, they are powerful." The Queen's eyes softened slightly. Liam could see the calculation behind them, the strategic mind, the intelligence, the curiosity that had built her empire. But beneath it, for the first time, there was something else: intrigue. The council members whispered among themselves, but none dared interrupt. Zephyra finally spoke, her voice steady, but her eyes still focused on Liam. "Very well, human. You will remain here during the negotiations. I wish to learn more about you." Liam's heart skipped a beat. He had not expected such an invitation. Most visitors barely survived the first hour in her court without offending someone. But now, he had an opportunity, not just to negotiate peace, but to influence a queen who had never seen the world through human eyes. Over the next hour, Liam followed the Queen through the palace corridors. The walls shifted colors as they passed, and soft lights danced across the floor. He kept his voice measured, careful not to break the delicate balance of diplomacy. But Zephyra seemed relaxed. She asked questions about human life, about their customs, and even about simple things like how humans ate or celebrated. At one point, Liam explained humor, a concept almost alien to the Zalari. Humor is a way we connect, he said. We laugh together. It is not just entertainment. It is trust, it is bond. The Queen raised an eyebrow. A strange concept, but intriguing. Liam smiled. I could show you, Your Majesty, if you wish. Zephyra's blush returned faintly and she looked away. Liam realized then that something small, a compliment, a simple human gesture, was already starting to change her perception. She was curious, and curiosity was powerful. It could lead to understanding, or even friendship. By the time they returned to the hall, the court had quieted again. Zephyra sat on her throne, composed once more. But her gaze lingered on Liam longer than before. She was analyzing him, trying to understand him, but more than that, trying to understand humans. Liam bowed slightly. I will do my best to honor your trust, Your Majesty. Zephyra's lips curved into the smallest hint of a smile, a gesture even rarer than her blush. We shall see, human. We shall see. As Liam turned to leave, he realized something important. In a world ruled by power and strict rules, honesty and a simple compliment had opened a door that no one had expected. And perhaps, just perhaps, it could change the Zalari Empire forever. For the first time, the human and the Queen shared a quiet, unspoken understanding. Liam did not know what would come next, but he knew one thing clearly. The game of diplomacy had just begun, and he had already made a mark. The sun of Zephyra Prime dipped behind the crystalline towers, sending long shadows across the palace grounds. Captain Liam Harris walked beside Queen Zephyra, who had insisted on a private tour of the palace's inner chambers. Despite the grandeur surrounding them, there was a quiet tension in the air. Every corridor, every glowing wall seemed to watch them, as if the palace itself had a life. Tell me, Zephyra said, her voice calm but curious. Why do humans speak so freely? Even in formal situations, you do not hesitate to express admiration or opinion. Liam smiled, walking carefully on the smooth, glowing floor. Because we believe honesty matters, Your Majesty. Words carry meaning, and saying what we think can build trust. Zephyra considered this. Her golden eyes reflected the light of the corridors, flickering like liquid fire. In the Zalari Empire, trust is earned through power and protocol. Words alone are dangerous. Sometimes words are more powerful than weapons, Liam said. They can change minds, calm anger, or even inspire courage. The Queen's eyes softened slightly. Liam could see the curiosity growing in her expression. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was there. Something about humans made her wonder. They were small, fragile creatures by Zalari standards, yet they acted boldly, unafraid of danger or judgment. As they reached a hall lined with holographic displays, Zephyra paused. Show me, she said, almost like a challenge. Show me this human strength, this courage you speak of. Liam raised an eyebrow. In what way, Your Majesty? Zephyra's lips curved slightly, and for a moment she seemed almost playful, a strange sight for a queen who ruled with strict precision. Through stories, deeds, or behavior. Let me see how humans act when the outcome is uncertain. Liam nodded. He realized she was testing him, but in a different way than any council or tribunal could. It was personal, subtle, a way to see if humans could match their words with action. Over the next few hours, Liam shared stories of human history, battles, and moments where courage and creativity had changed outcomes. He spoke of explorers who had traveled across oceans, inventors who had risked failure, and leaders who had inspired nations through simple words. Zephyra listened intently, leaning forward slightly, her hands resting on the arms of her throne-like chair that had been brought for the tour. Her blush appeared faintly again, a reaction Liam found both fascinating and humbling. She was intrigued, not by politics, not by strategy, but by the human spirit. You speak of emotion and courage as if they are tools, Zephyra said finally. Strange tools indeed. In my experience, emotion clouds judgment. Power and logic are supreme. Emotion is not weakness, Liam replied. It can guide action, connect allies, and inspire loyalty. Humans use it as a strength. The Queen's golden eyes narrowed slightly, thoughtful. Perhaps I have underestimated your species, she admitted quietly. It was rare for her to confess uncertainty. Even rarer for anyone to see her blush twice in a single day. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert from the palace security system. Several council members whispered urgently to one another, their expressions wary. Liam noticed the tension immediately. It was as if they were watching him, unsure whether he was friend or threat. You are aware, Zephyra said without turning, that not all in the court trust your presence? I am aware, Liam replied, and I respect their caution. I am here to negotiate peace, not to disrupt your world. Zephyra finally turned to him, her expression unreadable. Humans, you are different, bold, unpredictable, and yet you seem harmless. Her voice carried a strange mix of caution and fascination. I suppose that is part of being human, Liam said with a small smile. We adapt, we surprise, and sometimes we even inspire. The Queen paused, walking slowly through a gallery, filled with glowing crystal artifacts. She examined each one carefully, her eyes flicking between the displays and Liam. Perhaps I will learn to appreciate this surprise, she said quietly, almost to herself. Then, louder, she added, Human, I wish for you to accompany me more. There are things you may teach me, things others cannot. Liam's heart skipped a beat. This was extraordinary. In all his training and experience, no diplomat had ever received such an invitation. He realized that the Queen's curiosity was genuine, it was personal, and it was rare. As they continued walking, Zephyra asked him about simple human behaviors, smiling, laughing, joking. Liam explained the concept of humor, how it could break tension and build trust. He even attempted a small joke about a human explorer getting lost on a distant planet. For the first time, Zephyra laughed. It was a soft, melodic sound, not loud, but clear enough to echo through the hall. Liam stopped in surprise. He had never expected to hear the Queen of the Zalari laugh. Her court had never known such a sound. Some council members stiffened, while others watched in silence, unsure how to react. That is unexpected, Zephyra said, still smiling faintly. She touched her lips lightly, a gesture that revealed another blush. Humans, you are strange, yet intriguing. Yes, Your Majesty, Liam said, bowing slightly. We may be strange, but we have strengths no one expects, and sometimes the smallest actions, words, gestures, a laugh, can change everything. Zephyra considered this, her gaze thoughtful. She had spent her life relying on power and logic, but something about Liam's words, his honesty, and his behavior sparked curiosity in her. She wanted to know more about humans, not as subjects, not as enemies, but as equals. As the evening light faded, Liam and the Queen returned to the main hall. The council watched them carefully, but Zephyra walked with a new confidence, her head high. Liam realized that the Queen's personal transformation had begun. She was learning something new, something humans had always known: the power of honesty, courage, and simple human connection. For the first time, Liam felt that humans could truly make a difference in this alien world, not just through technology or strategy, but through something deeper: empathy, curiosity, and the courage to be themselves. And for the first time, Queen Zephyra wondered what it would truly mean to be influenced by a human and what it could teach her about herself. The next morning, the palace of Zephyra Prime buzzed with a quiet tension. Court members moved in perfect formation, their silver bodies gleaming in the soft light. Captain Liam Harris walked beside Queen Zephyra once more, this time on a guided tour through the private halls of knowledge. These corridors were filled with strange artifacts and devices, some pulsing with faint energy, others rotating silently as if alive. Zephyra's eyes moved from one object to another, curiosity clear in her expression. "Tell me," she said, "how do humans use creativity? You speak of courage and honesty, but there must be other ways you influence the world." Liam smiled. "Creativity is one of our strongest tools, Your Majesty. We imagine, invent, and adapt. Sometimes we turn what seems ordinary into something extraordinary." The Queen tilted her head, her golden eyes reflecting the soft light. "Show me." Liam led her to a display of holographic maps. He gestured, and images of human inventions appeared in the air: flying machines, enormous cities, and simple tools that had shaped civilizations. Humans take challenges and use imagination to overcome them. Even small ideas can change everything. Zephyra leaned closer, studying each hologram carefully. "Interesting. Your inventions are unpredictable, yet effective." She paused. "Perhaps humans possess something Zalari often lack: flexibility of thought." "Yes," Liam said. "We adjust, we fail, and we try again. That is our strength." For a moment, the Queen seemed lost in thought. Then she turned to Liam, her voice softer than usual. "Humans, you speak of failures as lessons. In the Zalari Empire, failure is shameful. Yet your species embraces it." "It is not easy, Your Majesty," Liam admitted, "but it allows us to grow, to survive, to adapt. Sometimes the most unexpected solutions come from the simplest mistakes." The Queen's lips curved slightly, and Liam noticed the faintest pink glow on her cheeks again. The blush had become subtle but persistent, a sign of curiosity and perhaps admiration. They moved to a room filled with crystal instruments, each producing harmonic sounds. Zephyra touched one lightly, sending a resonant tone through the hall. "Music," she said. "Humans use music to influence emotion?" "Yes," Liam replied. "It can inspire, calm, or unite. Humans use music to connect hearts and minds." Zephyra experimented with the instruments, listening closely. Liam played a simple tune on one of the crystals. The sound was soft but rich, vibrating in the air. The Queen tilted her head, her eyes closing briefly as she listened. Liam noticed. The blush deepened slightly. She had never experienced music like this before, not in court, not in ceremony, not in any battle she had faced. Humans find meaning in so many small things," she murmured. "We rely on orders, on plans, on strategy. Perhaps we forget the power of small personal gestures." "Even small gestures matter," Liam said. "A word of praise, a smile, a laugh, they can build trust faster than any weapon or decree." Zephyra's eyes met his, her expression unreadable. But Liam could sense something shifting inside her. She was beginning to understand, not just humans, but herself. A part of her wanted to explore this strange, simple power. The ability to connect, to influence, to inspire without force. Their lesson was interrupted by a sudden commotion. Several junior council members entered the hall, their faces tense. "Your Majesty," one said, "we received word that certain factions question your judgment. They do not trust the human." Zephyra's posture straightened. "I am aware," she said, her voice steady but her eyes flicking to Liam. "And yet, I will decide who stands in my court. Observation and learning are my choices, not theirs." Liam nodded, careful not to overstep. "Your Majesty, humans often thrive in distrust. We use it to strengthen alliances, to understand intentions, and to protect what we value." Zephyra studied him for a long moment. Then, softly, almost to herself, she said, "Humans, you are fearless in ways I cannot predict." The council members looked uneasy, but Zephyra ignored them, returning her attention to Liam. "Teach me more," she said. "Show me more about your ways." Over the next hours, they shared lessons of human customs, simple gestures, laughter, and even casual compliments. Liam demonstrated how a small act of kindness could change someone's mood, how honesty could inspire loyalty, and how humor could diffuse tension in even the most formal situation. The Queen practiced with him, attempting to replicate small gestures. Her movements were precise, careful, but there was a softness in her attempt, a hint of blush on her cheeks as she experimented. She laughed quietly at her mistakes, a sound that seemed almost forbidden in her court. Liam smiled, noting the subtle change. The Queen was learning, but more importantly, she was enjoying it. At one point, Liam pointed to a simple crystal vase and said, "Sometimes beauty is in simplicity. Admiration is not weakness. It is recognition." Zephyra's eyes widened slightly. "Admiration? From one being to another?" "Yes," Liam said. "It shows respect. It builds trust. It opens hearts." The Queen's blush deepened, and she looked away. "You humans, you make even the most structured beings uncertain." Liam chuckled softly. "Perhaps that is our gift." By the end of the day, the Queen's perspective had shifted subtly. She had begun to see humans not as fragile creatures, but as beings capable of strength in ways the Zalari rarely understood. Their courage, honesty, humor, and creativity, all traits she had underestimated, now fascinated her, and Liam realized that the smallest gestures, a compliment, a laugh, a shared story, had begun to change more than just her opinion. They were changing the Queen herself. For the first time, Zephyra wondered if the rigid walls of her court could bend, if the Empire could learn from humanity's strange and unexpected ways. And for the first time, a human had become not just a diplomat, but a teacher, and perhaps something more. The palace of Zephyra Prime was quiet that evening, yet an undercurrent of tension ran through the halls. Captain Liam Harris walked beside Queen Zephyra, who seemed more at ease than before. Her cheeks still carried a faint blush from earlier. Interactions, a mark of curiosity and subtle amusement. But the court around them whispered uneasily. Some council members had grown wary of Liam's influence over the Queen. "Your Majesty," one councillor murmured during a private briefing, "we cannot ignore the human's effect on you. His ways, they are unusual and unpredictable. The Empire may be at risk." Zephyra's golden eyes narrowed. "Unusual, perhaps," she said quietly. "But unpredictable does not mean dangerous. I judge my allies by their actions, not their origins." Liam noticed the tension immediately. Even though the council had been observing him since his arrival, he had not expected their opposition to grow so openly. Still, he remained calm. Humans were often underestimated, but underestimated humans could be surprisingly powerful. That night, Liam and Zephyra walked through the palace gardens, a vast expanse of glowing flora and gently flowing water. The soft light reflected off the crystalline plants, casting an ethereal glow on everything. Liam sensed that something was coming, an instinct he had learned from years of facing danger. "Captain," Zephyra said, breaking the silence, "why do humans trust each other so quickly, even with strangers?" "Because trust is a choice," Liam said. "We weigh risk, yes. But once we decide someone is worthy, we act openly. Trust builds strength, Your Majesty, even in a world of danger." Zephyra's eyes softened as she considered his words. "Perhaps that is what I am learning from you. Human. Courage, honesty, trust. They are tools even a queen can use." Before Liam could respond, a loud alarm echoed through the palace. Red lights flashed, and the serene gardens were filled with shadows as security units moved swiftly. "What is happening?" Zephyra demanded, her voice sharp with authority. "An intrusion," one guard reported. "Unknown attackers detected, near the palace walls. They are attempting to bypass security." Liam's mind raced. "This is no accident," he said. "Someone planned this. It's internal. They do not want you influenced by humans." Zephyra's eyes flicked toward him, her blush gone, replaced by sharp determination. "Then we face them together, human. We will not allow fear or politics to control us." The two moved quickly through secret corridors, guided by palace security. Liam observed the queen's actions closely. Despite her elegance and command, she was agile and decisive, moving with the precision of someone trained for both leadership and survival. Yet now, for the first time, Liam noticed a hint of vulnerability behind her strength. The attackers appeared suddenly, a group of masked figures wielding energy blades, aiming to reach the queen. Liam did not hesitate. He drew his compact sidearm, firing precise controlled shots to disable their weapons. The queen's guards followed, but Liam was in the thick of it, blocking attacks, dodging strikes, and keeping the attackers away from Zephyra. "Stay close," he shouted. "Don't let them surround us." Zephyra moved with him, her blade flashing in the dim light. Though she was powerful and trained, Liam's presence gave her confidence. His calm, human courage inspired her to act decisively, without hesitation or doubt. Together, they fought their way to a secure chamber. The attackers fell back, injured but not defeated. Liam scanned the area. "They will try again," he warned. "This is only the beginning." The queen's chest rose and fell as she caught her breath. Her golden eyes met Liam's, and for the first time she spoke without formal ceremony. "You humans, you are fearless in ways I cannot match." Liam smiled faintly. "It is not about matching. It is about standing firm, even when the odds seem impossible." Zephyra's lips curved slightly. "I see why my court fears you. And yet, I trust you." For the first time, a blush returned, not from embarrassment, but from admiration and gratitude. She had seen his courage, his honesty, and his quick thinking. He had saved her life, and in doing so, he had shown the power of humanity in action. After the attackers were contained by palace security, Liam and Zephyra returned to the throne room. The council watched in tense silence. Some were impressed. Others were outraged. But the queen's authority remained unshaken. "Human," she said, her voice firm and clear, "you have proven that strength is not measured only by power or strategy. It is also measured by courage, loyalty, and the will to act when it matters most." Liam bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only do what any human would do in the face of danger. And sometimes the right action is the simplest one." Zephyra regarded him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she spoke quietly, almost to herself. Perhaps humans teach more than we realize. Even a queen can learn, if she is willing. Liam noticed the faint blush on her cheeks again, soft but persistent. It was no longer a reaction to compliments. It was a sign of respect, trust, and perhaps even something more. The court murmured among themselves, some in shock, some in reluctant admiration. Liam realized that the Queen's perception of humans, and of him, was changing. She had begun to embrace not just human knowledge, but human courage and emotional strength. As the palace settled into quiet once more, Zephyra and Liam stood, side by side, watching the glowing city lights of Zephyra Prime. "Tell me," she said, her voice soft, "what else can humans teach? I want to learn more. From you." Liam nodded. "Then we continue, Your Majesty. There is much to share, and I believe you will find it surprising." For the first time, the human diplomat felt that he was not just a visitor or negotiator. He was a guide to something deeper, a bridge between human and Zalari worlds. And for the first time, the Queen allowed herself to wonder what it would mean to trust a human completely. The battle had ended, but the true test, the bond between human and Queen, was only beginning. The palace of Zephyra Prime was alive with cautious energy. Court members moved in their usual precise formations, but the tension was less noticeable than before. The recent attack had shaken the council, but it had also revealed a truth they could no longer ignore. Captain Liam Harris had earned the Queen's trust. Zephyra walked beside Liam through the central hall, her golden eyes scanning the crystalline walls. The faint blush still lingered on her cheeks, a subtle reminder of her growing admiration for the human. She had spent countless years relying solely on strategy, strength, and protocol. But now, human courage and honesty had opened her eyes to something new. "You understand humans so well," Zephyra said, her voice quiet but firm. "Why are you so calm, even when danger approaches?" Liam smiled gently. "Because fear is not the opposite of courage, Your Majesty. Courage is acting despite fear. Humans learn to rely on each other and on the choices they make. We adapt, and we keep moving forward." The Queen nodded slowly. "Perhaps I underestimated the strength that comes from such flexibility." In the weeks that followed, Liam's presence in the court became more accepted, though not without resistance. Some council members still whispered behind closed doors, worried that human influence was changing the Queen. Others observed quietly, trying to understand the lessons she was learning. One afternoon, Zephyra called a council meeting. The chamber was vast, filled with crystal light, and every member of the court was present. Liam stood beside her, a silent reminder of courage and honesty. "I have learned much from this human," Zephyra began, her voice commanding but steady. "Not only of diplomacy and strategy, but of trust, courage, and the strength of small gestures." She paused, letting her words sink in. The council members murmured among themselves, some surprised, others skeptical. Liam remained calm, but he noticed the subtle shift in the room. The Queen's words carried power, not just authority, but conviction. And the court had never seen Zephyra speak with such openness before. "Humans," she continued, "have a way of seeing the world that is unusual. They embrace failure, learn from mistakes, and act with honesty. These are qualities we may consider strange, yet they are powerful." A senior counselor stepped forward, his expression cautious. "Your Majesty, while humans may possess unique qualities, they are still fragile. Can their ways truly benefit the Empire?" Zephyra's golden eyes locked on him. "Fragile, yes, but underestimated. They teach us that power is not only measured in strength or logic, but also in courage, loyalty, and the will to act. This human, Captain Harris, has shown me that." The council fell silent. Liam noticed some members shifting uneasily. Their queen had publicly praised a human, something almost unheard of, and she had done so not as a courtesy, but as an acknowledgement of truth. Zephyra stepped down from her throne, moving closer to the center of the chamber. I will no longer hide behind rigid protocol alone. We will learn from other beings, from their courage, and from their ways. Humanity has much to teach, and I will not ignore it. The room was quiet. Liam sensed that change was slowly taking root. Even the most skeptical council members were beginning to understand that the Queen's embrace of human lessons was not weakness. It was strength. Later, in private, Zephyra turned to Liam. You have changed my court, my perspective, and perhaps even myself. Her voice carried a soft, almost vulnerable tone. I never imagined that a human could do this. You have only allowed it, Your Majesty. Liam replied gently. I show what is possible. You choose to act. That is your strength. Zephyra's eyes softened and a faint blush returned to her cheeks. Then perhaps I am learning more than I thought. Perhaps humans have a power that even a queen cannot ignore. The following days were filled with subtle transformations. The queen introduced small human-inspired practices in her court, a word of praise for accomplishment, moments of shared laughter, and recognition of courage over mere obedience. Council members were hesitant at first, but gradually they began to see the value. Trust between leaders and subordinates increased, and court decisions became more balanced. Even the soldiers, trained for strict discipline, started to notice the change. Their queen acted with both authority and empathy, and it inspired them to act with loyalty rather than fear. Liam watched quietly, understanding that humanity's influence was spreading, not as an imposition, but as a natural lesson of courage, honesty, and connection. One evening, Zephyra invited Liam to a quiet terrace overlooking the city. The sky shimmered in hues of violet and green, and the light reflected off the towers like 1,000 tiny stars. Human, she said softly, your presence has changed much here. You have shown me that strength is not only in power, but in connection. And you have made me see myself differently. Liam nodded, humbled. I only did what humans do every day. Act with honesty, courage, and care. You chose to learn, Your Majesty. That is what matters most. The Queen's lips curved slightly, and the blush on her cheeks deepened faintly. Perhaps humans are more than I imagined. They are capable of inspiring even a queen. In that moment, Liam realized something important. Humans had a way of leaving marks on others, not just through technology or strategy, but through simple actions, honest words, and courage that inspired trust. And the Queen of the Zalari had become a living example of that truth. As the stars glittered, above Zephyra Prime, the city seemed to hum with quiet energy. Change had begun in the Empire, not through war or politics, but through the simple, unexpected power of humanity. And for the first time, Captain Liam Harris felt that the bond between human and queen was more than diplomacy. It was a connection built on mutual respect, courage, and understanding, one that could reshape an entire empire. The true test of that connection was approaching, but for now the queen allowed herself to blush again, not from embarrassment, but from admiration and trust. For humans, small gestures could be powerful, and for the Zalari, one human had proven that they could change even the most rigid hearts. The palace of Zephyra Prime gleamed in the morning light, its crystalline towers catching the sun and scattering it in rainbow patterns across the city. Captain Liam Harris walked beside Queen Zephyra, who seemed more at ease than ever. Her golden eyes held a warmth rarely seen in the stoic ruler, and the faint blush on her cheeks was a subtle reminder of the personal lessons she had learned from him. Today was the day the Queen planned to make a public declaration, a bold move that would show the Zalari Empire that change was possible. Liam had been part of the process from the beginning, guiding her through lessons of trust, courage, and human connection. And now, the time had come to share that knowledge with the court and with the Empire. Zephyra entered the central hall, her presence commanding yet different than before. There was confidence, yes, but also something softer, an openness that had never been there in her public appearances. Council members rose respectfully, though some still carried skepticism in their expressions. Members of the council, Zephyra began, her voice clear and steady. For centuries, the Zalari have relied on power, logic, and protocol. These principles have guided our empire, and they will continue to do so. But today I recognize another kind of strength, one that I have learned from a human named Captain Liam Harris. The council shifted uneasily. Publicly praising a human was unprecedented. Some frowned, others whispered among themselves, but Zephyra's eyes were firm and her voice did not waver. This human has shown me that courage, honesty, and small acts of kindness can be as powerful as weapons or strategy. That trust, laughter, and understanding can unite beings in ways rules alone cannot, and that even a queen can learn, grow, and adapt. Liam stood beside her, quietly observing. He had never sought recognition, but he could feel the weight of this moment. The queen, once strict and unyielding, was now embracing qualities that humans had known for generations, and in doing so, she was reshaping her court. One senior counselor spoke, voice cautious. "Your Majesty, you place great emphasis on this human, yet our empire relies on discipline and logic. Will these human ways truly strengthen us?" Zephyra's golden eyes met his, unwavering. "Yes, they can. We are not abandoning our principles. We are adding to them. Strength comes not only from power, but from understanding and trust, and I have seen the value of these lessons firsthand." A silence fell over the hall. Some council members were still uncertain, but they could not ignore the evidence. The Queen's judgment had been strengthened, not weakened, by her human advisor. She had survived an attack, faced internal threats, and emerged wiser because of it. After the council meeting, Zephyra walked with Liam through the palace gardens. The glowing plants and flowing streams reflected the soft light, making the scene almost magical. "You have changed much here, human," she said quietly, her voice carrying both admiration and a faint blush. "Not just me, but the empire itself. My court has begun to see the value of courage, honesty, and connection." Liam nodded. "I only showed what humans do every day, Your Majesty. You chose to learn, to adapt, and to lead. That is what made the difference." Zephyra smiled faintly. "And yet, your presence has made even me uncertain in ways I have never known. Perhaps humans are more than I imagined," he chuckled, softly. "We are simple, yet unpredictable. That is part of our strength." Over the next days, small but meaningful changes spread throughout the court. Council members began to recognize acts of courage, reward, honesty, and value open communication. Soldiers and guards noticed a subtle difference in the Queen's orders. They were firm, yes, but tempered with understanding. The Zalari Empire had begun a quiet transformation, inspired by human lessons. One evening, Zephyra invited Liam to the palace terrace. The city stretched below, glittering with countless lights. The air was calm, and the stars above seemed brighter than ever. "Human," she said softly, "your influence has done more than I expected. You have taught me that even the strongest beings can grow. That connection and courage are powerful forces." Liam looked at her, humbled. You learned these lessons because you were willing, Your Majesty. Humans can guide, but only you can choose to act. Zephira's cheeks warmed faintly, a blush that no longer came from simple surprise but from respect, admiration, and something deeper. Perhaps humans are capable of more than I ever realized, and perhaps even a queen can feel something she did not expect. Liam smiled gently. That is the gift of understanding, Your Majesty. It changes both the teacher and the learner. For the first time, the Queen allowed herself a private moment of reflection. The court, the empire, the rules, they were all important. But courage, honesty, and connection mattered too. The influence of one human had opened her eyes to a new way of leading, and she knew the empire would benefit from this insight for generations to come. As the night deepened, the city shimmered below them. Zephira turned to Liam, her golden eyes, soft and warm. Human, you have done more than I can describe. You have not only taught me about your species, you have reminded me of my own potential, to be more than tradition dictates. Liam nodded quietly. That is what humans do. We show what is possible, even in the smallest ways. The Queen smiled, her blush lingering faintly. It was no longer a sign of awkwardness or surprise, but of respect, trust, and a connection that transcended words or species. The Zalari Empire had entered a new era, not through conquest or politics, but through the subtle, extraordinary power of humanity. One human had changed the heart of a queen, reshaping her court, inspiring her people, and proving that courage, honesty, and connection were forces stronger than any weapon. And in the quiet glow of the city, Captain Liam Harris realized something profound. Sometimes the greatest victories come not from war or strategy, but from the simple courage to act with honesty and the bravery to teach even the most powerful beings something new. Queen Zephira looked at him once more, her golden eyes warm, her blush faint, and said softly, "Perhaps humans are more than allies. Perhaps they are teachers of the heart." And for the first time, she truly believed it.